Welcome to Let's Talk with Derick. I am your host, Derick Phage, and I am pleased to introduce our guest today who is going to help, I imagine, a lot of young families out there because many of you, I'm sure your schedules have changed quite dramatically, especially your children's sleep schedules. I'm joined by Kim Davis. She is a certified pediatric sleep consultant, the owner of Babes and Beyond Pediatric Sleep Consultant. Kim, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you. It's so nice to connect with you again. I'm super excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, same here. Before we get into your business and how you can help families, I just wanted to get a sense on how things are going with your family, how you are dealing with the pandemic.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to say the least. I think when people ask me if I could describe it in one word, it would be challenging.
Yeah,
So many things have happened with scheduling, and we talked earlier about family dynamics and how that's impacting. And we take it one day at a time, and that's
hmm,
all we can do because having two children at home, me trying to run a business and my husband working from home has brought on many challenges. I'll use that word again, to try and get everything done, right? And
right.
so we even had to purchase a new computer so everyone would have one at the same time. And it was a big struggle because one of them was actually using my computer during the day to do schoolwork, and then I wouldn't have any time to do my work during the day. So I'd be staying
Right.
up like ridiculously late trying to get my work done. And I was like, sorry, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to get a computer for the kids. And we ended up doing that. So there's been a lot of expenses too, right? The kind
Yeah,
of unknown what we need. Like now we're trying to get a schedule up and trying to put everybody on a quote unquote schedule for their schoolwork. It's been
right.
challenging for them to go on e-learning, and I'll use that quotations very loosely because that's
Why so
another
loosely?
story.
Is it because the teachers are also, sort of in a transition period themselves as well? Because I've noticed that with my daughter, this is new to them as well, right?
Yeah, it is. And I have to remind myself of that too, right? I'm an A-type personality, so I like to have things organized and structured. And when things are not, I tend to get flustered, right? Like any person would. And I don't like missing things. And the way things are happening now, a lot of things are going missing, right? And yes,
Right.
absolutely, my children need to take responsibility for their work, right? And to have things. But when it comes across as not being organized for even me to go back and look very quickly, I can imagine how flustered they feel, right? And this is
Right.
all brand new for them. So it is a transition for everybody. And like I said, we're trying to do it one day at a time. And I try to just remind myself, you know what, it's okay. It's okay. Everybody's going through this transition and we'll make it through. So, but there's a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
And
Oh, absolutely.
particularly, yeah, and particularly with my daughter, she's in grade 6. And
Okay.
for her to not be able to connect with her friends and even her teacher has been very overwhelming for her. And there was a lot of emotion probably about 3 weeks into it because, that novelty of being off school and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it was great. But now that it's kind of really sunk in for her that she might not be able to go back to school and to see all her friends, she just had a little bit of I guess a little bit of a meltdown, right? Like all of
Okay.
us, I'm sure, have right during this time, because that reality was sinking in. And she's in grade 6, so they have a kind of leaving ceremony for the school. She's been looking
Yes, of
forward to this
course. Right.
forever. And since she's been in grade 1, she's been looking forward to this. And, the chances are pretty high that it may not happen for her,
Hmm.
right? So it's not just schoolwork, it's everything else that happens at school that they're really missing, right? And unfortunately, the teachers that they have just started connecting over a Zoom call, but it's been a long time, right? And
Yeah.
so, they're trying to find their groove too, and they have families at home, which I completely understand, right? Trying to do your work and trying to help the kids is challenging, right?
Yeah. You
It's
can
very
sympathize,
challenging.
right? You're going through the
I
exact
can,
same thing many of those
I can.
teachers are going through.
Yeah, I can. And it's just, we're going to take it one day at a time. And we're very blessed that the teachers have open communication. So if there is any issue, we can certainly call them, not call them, sorry, email them. And they respond pretty quickly. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
happy
great.
about that. Yeah, I'm really happy that the communication is open. And most of the teachers, like, when you get it done, get it done. Those due dates are just to try and keep you on
Yeah,
schedule.
they're quite flexible, aren't they?
They
They're
are, which
definitely
is nice.
flexible. Yeah, absolutely.
Because we were worried, right? Is she going to get marks taken off? For my son, he's grade 3, so it's not too bad. But for her, we really want to make sure that she's prepared for middle school, right? So
Of course.
there's a little difference there in regards to like having her schoolwork completed, and so. But yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, I understand because my daughter's in grade 9, and
Okay,
she's very disciplined. She
great.
likes school. She likes being busy. She likes doing the work. She's very patient, and she takes her time. So, she
Yeah.
certainly, this isn't so bad for her because she's also very artistic. But as you
Okay.
said, the grades. Grade 6 is important for her too. In grade 9, first year of high school, grades
Exactly.
are very important to her as well. I want to
Yeah.
pick your brain
Okay.
because you have an area of expertise that I'm sure many families are perhaps struggling with these days.
Yes, mine
As,
included. Mine
yeah,
included.
as you just stated, right? You were staying up late trying to get work done, so I'm sure that interrupted your sleep. But you're a certified pediatric sleep consultant.
Mhm.
Let's tell us a little bit. First of all, before you give some advice, what is it that you
Yeah.
exactly do with clients?
Right. So, a pediatric sleep consultant, there's usually this connotation that's associated with it as all we do is just let babies or children cry out, which is completely wrong. I just
Right.
want to set that record straight right now. Because that's not what we do.
Yeah.
A certified pediatric sleep consultant does a lot with the family. And I say with the family because I can write you a perfect sleep plan, but if it's not tailored to your family dynamics, your parenting style, it's not going to work, right? If you
Right.
are not consistent with the plan that we develop together, it's not going to work. I can write you the best one, but if it's not going to suit your parenting style or your family, then you're really wasting your time, right?
Yeah.
So what I do is actually I sit down with parents and we go through a pretty detailed intake form because that gives me some background of what's going on. Yes, your child's not sleeping, but what are the causes of that, right? I want to find
Right.
out, I want to treat the cause, not the symptom. And that's really important because sometimes those little details make a huge difference. Like, let's say, making the room conducive to sleep, which many parents are, they don't understand that. They don't understand that the room needs to be dark, and which can make such a huge difference, right? In the way somebody falls asleep. It's really hard to fall asleep when it's really, really bright out. So just those little details that we go over and we try and put a plan together that is going to help everybody get the sleep that they need and that they deserve, right? A
Yeah.
lot of times too, people, especially new parents, will think that it's a rite of passage to be sleep deprived. Absolutely not, right? There's so
Yeah,
many things.
that's interesting you say that because I've heard that from a lot of parents that, oh, you know what, that's just the way it goes. That's to be expected and you will have to just tough it out.
For the first few months, absolutely, I would agree because you do what you have to do to
Sorry
get.
about the dog.
That's okay. Mine's sitting right
Alfie,
there, and I'm praying she's not going to hear the doorbell or something, right?
Alfie,
So no, don't worry about that.
hold on. My wife's just grabbing the dog. This is what
That's
happens when
okay.
you do a show from home, It's
It's
to be
okay.
expected.
I hear babies cry. I hear parents going off. It's fine. I'm used to all that. I'm praying my dog doesn't hear the doorbell or someone knock on the door because she will go crazy.
Oh
So
yeah, we have two and they will both go nuts for sure.
it's all good.
All
It's
right,
all
so let's continue on that thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So in regards to the sleep environment, everything, it's just those little things make a world of difference. And to find and to help families get back on track, that's what we need to do. And like we were talking about with the rite of passage, for the first few months, okay, right?
Yeah.
You do what you have to do. Sleep is so sporadic for newborn babies. Absolutely, you do what you have to do safely, right? And I'm
Yes,
going
of
to
course.
make that very clear that you need to do it safely. A lot of the times, what happens is that different parenting styles, they prefer to co-sleep, and we can have another show on that. But it's in regards to doing it safely. A lot of the time, parents, when they're not planning on co-sleeping, they don't have the right environment set up, that it's a reactive co-sleeping. So then it does become a safety issue, right?
Yeah.
So in the first few months, absolutely, you do what you have to do. But once they start changing, and we're talking about their circadian rhythms. So their internal body clock, when they rely more so on the light and the darkness to fall asleep like adults do, that hits around 4.5 months. And that's when you start, sorry, my phone has decided to go
It's
off.
okay.
And that's my husband. I turned that off. You can wait. But that's when you can actually start really focusing on shaping their sleep. And I like to
Okay.
use that word shaping their sleep because, again, training people have this negative connotation associated with it that you can't train somebody to sleep. But sleeping is a skill. Okay. So
Okay.
some babies need a little bit more coaching, which I help them with, and some don't. Right. And that's a perfect example is my family. My daughter was the best sleeper.
Really?
So, oh, she was fabulous. I could like set my watch by her. She was awesome.
Oh, my daughter was colic for 3 months.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Oh
So
my goodness.
that's challenging, right? There comes that word again. That's
That
challenging.
was challenging for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. But, so I could not relate with any parent when they said that they were sleep deprived. I had no idea what they were talking about.
Right.
But when my son came along,
That's a whole different story.
the whole world just decided to change, and a reality struck and hit me like a brick in the head, because everything that I did with my daughter did not work for my son. So that goes to show you that even siblings can be completely different when it comes to sleep, right? It's based on them. And that's what we do when we sit down with the family, is to really focus on the child. Because like I said before, I could write you the perfect sleep plan, but if it doesn't fall in line with the baby's or the child's circadian rhythms, you can't force him to sleep. But you can certainly offer naps and bedtime at the most appropriate times. And so that's what we really focus on, is really finding I like to call them sweet spots, right? During the day, for their naps and at bedtime. But
because they don't necessarily, they don't have much to do, right? You can really find out what their schedule is. Now, I know you have to work with your own schedule as well, but certainly when they're an infant, if they need to sleep at 1 PM, then they sleep at 1 PM, right? It's not, because I've heard some parents say, I don't want, the child to go to sleep because then they're going to, have trouble putting them to bed at night. Do you hear that as well? Like, what do you do in that case with somebody?
So that is kind of a myth, right? So you keep the child up so late and then they'll just fall asleep and they'll sleep through the night. It's actually the complete opposite.
Okay.
Because your goal at the end of the day is my baby well rested? Because sleep begets sleep, right? So the better the naps are, the better the evenings are. Absolutely, your baby will fall asleep at night, probably very, very quickly, but your baby's crashing. So the quality of sleep and the time that they're actually going to wake up again is going to be one sleep cycle, pretty much guaranteed on that. And that's when all those night wakings start to happen, because your baby is overtired. And a lot of the times parents will stretch them too long, because some babies are amazing and they don't show any sleepy signs. They don't, start to rub their eyes. They're not cranky. They're like this ridiculously happy baby the entire day, but their sleep needs are not met. And so then it starts coming out at night when you're going to wake up every sleep cycle. So a sleep cycle for a young baby would be between 2 and 4 hours at night. The older they get, the longer the stretches are. So if your child is waking up every single sleep cycle, you really need to focus on why, right? Are they overtired? Is there sleep associations? Usually there are when parents come to me. So that would be like feeding to sleep, rocking to sleep, something to sleep, right? The baby is not going to sleep on their own. So what we do is we help break those sleep associations, which some are challenging. Feed to sleep association is the biggest one that I see. And and so we work together to try and make the routine. So just before they go to bed, breaking those sleep associations. It does take a while. It doesn't happen overnight, right? Because you figure if someone comes to you in 9 months of being put to sleep in a certain way, how long is that going to take to break, right?
Yeah, it's become a habit, right?
Absolutely.
And we all know habits are very difficult to break.
I was just going to say that, usually about 3 weeks, right? For a habit to break.
Yeah.
Well, you have to keep that in mind, but that's where the consistency comes in, right? And if you're
Right.
consistent in the way you're doing things, that habit will break a lot faster. And there's a lot of give and take within the first week of the sleep plan, because, like I said, I can't force your baby to go to sleep at the exact time, at an exact time, but I can certainly recommend and suggest of when we're going to allow the nap to happen, right?
Right.
And depending on the age, there's certain sleep waves that happen to us during the day, adults, everybody. And so when your circadian rhythm dips, that's when we want to have that nap being offered, especially for children. Because if we place them in their crib or their sleep space at that time, they're going to fall asleep a lot easier and they're going to stay asleep, right? And that's what
Yeah.
we want. And, some other sleep consultants may disagree with me in regards to my methods, whatever. That's okay. A lot of us do
Yeah.
different things.
Of
Some
course.
some base slowly on wake times, right? And some go the same route I do, and we follow sleep waves, right? And you'll find that when you do follow the sleep waves and the biological times our body needs to sleep, the quality of sleep it totally increases, and the length increases as well. And that's what you want, right? You want to be sleeping at the right time. You
Right.
can go to sleep at a certain time, you can crash on the couch, adults do. But when you wake up, how are you feeling? Usually not the greatest, right?
Yeah.
Because
And
you're
usually you
sleeping
have a
off.
hard time, if you go back to bed,
Yeah,
or sorry, not go back to bed. If you go to bed after you fall asleep, maybe watching a movie in front
yeah.
of the TV, and all of a sudden you can't get back to sleep.
That's it,
Right.
right? Because you've really interrupted that circadian rhythm. So, and it's so important, and it's hard now too, because the weather's not the greatest right now in Ottawa. So, but it's still important to get out and to really help your body even during the day to prepare it for sleep. Right.
Hmm.
So getting out in the sunshine, and when there is sunshine, not here in Ottawa today, but when you do have that, it's so important to go out and to stimulate your body during the day, to let it know that it's not time to sleep yet, but then cue your body at
Right.
night that it is time to sleep. So darkening everything, when you're getting ready, and parents have their own bedtime routine, and so do children. Right. And I
Kim,
think a
and
lot of parents
right.
forget that, right?
Yeah.
They do.
And I was going to
Yeah.
say, the family dynamic has changed dramatically, right,
Oh,
over the
yes.
last few weeks, where, we don't have the same schedules we used to have, as you described.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you work from home, but now your husband's working from home. This is a different dynamic, not for just the two of you, but for the kids as well, right? So
For
there's
sure.
perhaps even more stimulation for them now, because
Oh,
the two
yeah.
of you are right. Yeah, the two of you are there at all times, and they look to you, for
Yeah.
even entertainment and so forth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you
Mommy, I'm
have,
bored. I was
yeah, do
like,
you
what?
have, you must have clients right now that are like, you know what, like the whole pattern is just,
Oh, yeah.
it's gone to hell.
It,
What can we do to get back on
that,
track?
that's exactly it. And my business is actually the busiest it's ever been.
Really, eh?
And yeah, because parents are now at home with their children. And if their children were napping at daycare, or, whatever, or even a grandparent's house, or whatever, now they're at home. So now they're realizing the challenges that were going on when they weren't there. Right.
Right.
And I'll step back a second, because a lot of the children sleep very differently when they're at daycare and when they're at home.
Really?
So, oh yeah, oh yeah. So they'll sleep great at daycare, and then when they come home, not so much,
Do you
because
think
the
it's because
parents
they're
are
more
there.
stimulated there, and they're more active, and
I
they, they,
think it
they
is
need a
because,
rest?
well, I think probably two things are going on. One, that they know at daycare that they have to do it on their own. So I'm speaking for children that have maybe some sleep associations going on
Right.
right now, but they put themselves to sleep at daycare. But when they come home, they're like, you know what? I'm going to see what mommy and daddy can do for me, right?
Yeah.
To
And
help
they
me.
desperately try not to sleep.
Yes, they
Right?
do.
There are kids out there that are like, no, I'm fine. No. All right. They try to wake themselves up. They just don't want to do it because they feel like they're going to miss out on something.
Exactly. They feel like they're missing out, when in actual fact they are not missing out on anything, because mom and dad want to go to bed too, right? So
Yeah.
let's be honest.
They may even want to nap
Oh yeah,
right during the day.
sometimes, like, that's the thing. I was talking to a colleague of mine, and I was like, if somebody said, you know what, it's nap time, I'd be like, where do you want me to go?
Do we
You
have
can
a
have plenty of
room I can go to?
Yeah, exactly, right? But children, they fight you, right? A lot of the times they'll fight you too. It's
Yeah.
because they're overtired, right? And it's this vicious circle that you get into that, that being overtired can build up such a sleep debt that it's
Hmm.
so hard to get down. It really is. And that's when parents call me when they're kind of in crisis mode, right? And when things have just gone completely off the track and they just don't know how to fix it because they've tried so many things, right? And again, it comes back to a lot of consistency, right? We want that being in place, but there's so much information out there in regards to sleep, children's sleep, what to do, what not to do. If you do this, you're going to damage your child's psychological well-being. And the parents
Yeah, that's the danger of the internet too,
oh,
right? Is that
that's
people
it.
aren't necessarily getting information from a professional. They don't know the source of the information so often,
Right,
right? So they're getting
right.
misinformation.
That's it. And a perfect example is that I was talking with a woman out in BC, and we were doing an introductory call yesterday just to see her baby is 3.5 months, so not quite there yet to do any formal sleep coaching.
Okay.
But we were talking about, she's a first time mom, and she's like, I am so overwhelmed with all the information, and I'm terrified to do anything, which actually broke my heart. I was like,
Yeah.
so much information out there, and we actually got on the subject of cry it out, right? Because we were just talking about different methods. And she's like, well, I'm so afraid to even let my baby fuss because there's so many articles, and I'm going to put that in quotations, articles,
Hmm.
not research papers, out there that are people's opinions, right?
Yes,
And it's not
absolutely.
based on research, it's not based on facts. And so all these parents are terrified to do anything because if someone is really coming down, and a lot of shaming will come out when anybody talks about
Absolutely. Yeah, we've
it.
seen it. That's one of the,
It's horrible.
horrible things about social media.
Oh, and so I don't go on and comment anymore. When I'm first starting 7 years ago, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go in and comment. No,
Yeah.
I
I'll
just don't
help people.
anymore. Yeah.
This will be great.
Yeah, it was. And it was interesting because you got slammed with negative comments. And how
Hmm.
dare you, offer this to people? Don't you know that this will like harm your child? And a lot of the times people don't realize that those articles that they're reading are from somebody who has not done their research. And a lot of the times I'm an assistant instructor now with the Family Sleep Institute, and we actually have them do a research paper on the exact subject of cry out. And it's interesting because people go in with this certain idea of what it really is, which is not what it is.
Right.
And those research papers, I would say 90% of them, maybe even more than that, are based on animals. It's not human beings.
Really?
No, I could send you tons of research articles.
What?
Yes, rats, monkeys. We've had some on pigs. And the way the authors of these articles twist it is unbelievable. But parents don't have the time to go, like, say, if they cite the paper or the research, whatever it was, parents aren't going to go and look at those. They're not, they don't
No,
have
no, they just trust,
time.
right? There's this sense of trust. It's on the internet. It must be
It's
true, right?
true.
And it depends on the delivery. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
There are
it
some
is.
people that aren't experts out there that are very good at
Yes.
writing material that can convince you of something. But again,
Oh,
being in the media for so many years, I can't say it enough. You have to make sure you get your information from reliable sources, especially if you're sharing
exactly.
something on social media, and
Yeah.
you have not looked at the source. It can be an embarrassing moment for you. I
Yes,
guarantee it, right?
absolutely. And but those parents are so sleep deprived. I understand. I
Hmm.
was
Yeah,
there.
they're
I was there
desperate.
for 2.5 years. My son did not sleep through the night or have a decent nap. So when I
Wow.
share with parents that I understand what they're going through, I understand. I lived that nightmare. My marriage suffered. My relationship with my daughter suffered. My health suffered so badly that I didn't think I was going to come out of it, to be honest.
Really, Kim?
And
Wow.
it was such a I don't want to say like horrible time, but yeah, let's be honest. It was a horrible time in my life
Hmm.
where I just couldn't do it anymore. And I was like, we're done. We can't do this. I turned into a mom, and I'm going to try and hold back these tears because it's so emotional for me still, like 9 years later, that I turned into a mom I didn't want to be.
Really?
And I'm going
Yeah,
to hold back here for a second. I was
I
angry.
understand.
I was resentful. I was like, I I just couldn't do it anymore. And there's no reason in the world for a parent to go through that. And that's why I was like, you know what? I need to start helping people because I don't want anybody to go through. Sorry.
That's okay. No, listen, that's a difficult emotion. My wife and I talked,
Yeah.
it's so interesting you mention it. It's actually ironic because my wife and I talked about two emotions yesterday, and that is resent and
Mhm.
guilt.
Yeah.
And those two things, I mean, they can destroy you. I mean, they
Yeah.
really
Oh, yeah.
affect your mental health.
And it did, right? My relationship with my husband was turned upside down, and I came to a point where I'm done. I actually remember yelling, I'm done. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I need to fix this, right? And
Yeah,
with my personality, I needed to do this, right? I needed to do this. But the mistake I made was that I didn't ask for help. That
right.
was the biggest mistake I made. I
And
wanted to
I
do it
think too, and this is what we talked about yesterday, Kim, is, what we don't realize is that we did the best we could at that time.
yeah.
We can
The
look
survival
back,
mode, the
we can look
survival
back and
mode.
go, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't feel bad about that. With the tools that you had at your disposal, you did the best you could at that
Mhm.
time. And it's important to try to stop and think about that. Unfortunately, most of us think about it as you are doing right now,
Yeah.
years
Years
later,
later.
right?
Yeah. Years later. Like my son, he just turned 9. Right. So, and it was interesting because I have taken a different perspective of it. And it came from a family I worked with. This was a few years ago. And we were talking about my son and how I started to do this business. And she's like, wow, you should really be thankful and thank your son. And I was on the phone. I wasn't on a call like this. And I was like, what did you just say?
Sorry, come
And
again?
I said, yeah. And I was like, sorry. And she says, because if you hadn't gone through it, you would not be helping so many people right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I was like, you are absolutely correct. And so when we got off the phone, I actually called my son into my office, and he's heard me before saying that, he was a challenging, kind of terrible sleeper. And so he's heard that for years. And I never thought about how really that was impacting him, but
Yeah.
probably did. Right. And he's thinking, wow, I was, terrible for my mommy. And he's a very sensitive boy. So, I stopped, saying that when he was around and sharing that story. But I asked him to come into my office after that. And I said, you know what, buddy, his name's Chase. I said, Chase, mommy wants to thank you. And of course he's like, what did I do? Is she being sarcastic?
Yeah.
Um, and I said, I want to thank you, buddy, for, going through that sleep issue that we had a long time ago. And he's like, but mommy, you said that, I was a terrible sleeper. And I said, yeah, it was challenging. I said, but just think, now mommy can help so many people not go through what we went through. And you should have seen the smile on that
Mm.
boy's face, And yes, when we were in the trial, and I'll say it was a huge trial, I couldn't see that. Couldn't see that
Yeah,
at
of
all.
course.
And that's afterwards, after you come out of that trial, you're like, okay, now I know why. Now I know why I went through
Mhm.
that. And I wake up every day, thanking God that I am able to help so many families, because there's no reason to go through what I went through. And I don't want anybody to go through what I went through, because there's tools that I can give parents for free that
Yeah.
will help them not go through what I went through. So if I'm able to sit with somebody and have a call, for 15 minutes and give them some advice to tweak something, please call me and just let me do that, because sometimes that little tweak can make such a big difference. And you don't need me for a full, 2-week support package.
Right.
Sometimes you do, right? Depending on the issue.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's just a little tweak. And I would gladly, share with you, what, your nap needs to be changed to this time. Boom. Everything
There you
falls into
go. Yeah, exactly.
why not?
Some of
Why
these
not?
problems can be solved, quicker
They can.
than you think.
They
Before
can.
I run out of time here,
Oh,
Kim.
yes. Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's okay. It's okay. This is great information, and you actually got me emotional when just
I'm
sharing
sorry.
it.
I'm
No,
sorry.
listen. I'm a big suck. That's not a bad thing to get me emotional.
No.
But I want to talk about screen time, because our
Yeah.
kids right now have screen time more than they ever have before, especially kids at home. They're not in daycare, or even older kids who are now homeschooling, as your
Yeah.
kids are. They're on the screen and they're watching
All the
TV.
time.
So what effect does that have on sleep, especially
Huge.
for young people?
Huge. It
Yeah.
impacts sleep more than you know. Because what happens with that blue light that's being emitted from like the screens and TV and everything, it's a blue light that actually inhibits the production of melatonin, which is our sleepy hormones, right? And we don't want that to happen.
Right.
So I actually had a lovely conversation with a group of brownies the other night over Zoom. Actually, was so fun. And we
Nice.
did kind of a sleep 101, right? And that was one of the questions. Well, why can't I have like my iPad or something, and kind of fall asleep with it? Well, actually, it's preventing your body from shutting down because it just keeps you going. And once they get that second wind, there's no
Oh
turning
yeah, you're
back.
done. Yeah, for sure.
You really have to ride that wave out because there's nothing physically you can do. You can say, hey, go to bed, but their body is so wound up now that they can't. So we're really mindful of the screen time. So screen time has to be, and this is the minimum, has to be shut off 1 hour before bedtime.
And
Has
that's
to be
minimum. And that's all
minimum
screen
because
time?
it
You're
takes
talking
that long.
TV, tablet,
TV,
video
everything.
games, everything. Okay.
Everything, especially like your cell phone, right? I am horrible at night. I'll go in and I'll check sleep logs or something. That blue light is right there,
Yeah.
and I was like, and I catch myself. I'm like, okay, I can't, right? I need to rest. I need to go to sleep, especially that I'm up ridiculously late doing this now. But it's just, it affects sleep so much for adults, for everybody, right? Children. And
Hmm.
it's challenging at this time because if mom and dad need to get work done, what's the easiest go-to, right? Is that screen time.
It's true.
So, at this time, you do what you have to do to get through it. But
Well, and
I
try to
also
schedule it properly, right?
exactly, I was
I
just
think we
gonna
can
say,
all agree that our kids are going to be on the screen more than they ever have
oh,
been in this kind
yeah,
of situation. But maybe in our schedule, we can at least try to make sure that hour before bedtime doesn't include it,
that's it. That's
right?
exactly it, right? And you can do a lot of things to wind down your body. Do a puzzle, do some
Hmm.
coloring with the kids. We were talking about it with the brownies, doing some yoga before bed. Kids love doing yoga, right?
Yeah.
There's a Cosmic Kids that has, it's on YouTube, and they have some great bedtime wind down, right? Do that just on the onset of that hour, right? And get them wound down for bedtime. You need to cue your body to sleep, whether it's, a short little routine or it's like a 30-minute routine. Most bedtime routines are about 30 minutes with children. Shouldn't go any longer than that because it
Okay.
becomes stuff that they're doing, right? It doesn't cue their bodies that it's time to sleep. So I always recommend having like a 30-minute bedtime routine, regardless of age,
Okay.
uh, because that's going to cue your body to sleep. And it's the physical things that you're doing, right? It's not necessarily you're telling your child to do all these things. It's they're doing it. And so they're cueing their body on their own. And eventually they're going to get into that routine. Having like even a routine set up for them, especially at this time, right? Is so they can actually check it off at night, and it will reduce those bedtime battles. And that's what a lot of parents are coming to me right now, is the bedtime battles, because their schedules are so thrown off and they're overtired.
Yeah.
Right. So, if there's one advice that I can give parents right now is really try and keep a schedule. Have your breakfast at the same time, interact at the same time, trying to have your lunch at the same time. That schedule that they're used to, that everybody's used to, is going to help everybody settle in for the day. And I know it's going to be challenging, especially when we're all getting used to this right now. But do the best you can with a schedule, because you are really going to benefit from it. To just try and do those certain things at the same time. Try to get up at the same time. Try and go to bed at the same time. All those things cue your body throughout the day to help you settle at night. Like I was saying, my kids are 9 and 11. We still have a schedule written out because two reasons. One, I'm tired of repeating myself, and
Appreciate your honesty there, Kim.
yeah. And two, it just helps them, right? Take responsibility and ownership of their own sleep. And for older kids, they want to do that. They want to have
Yeah.
ownership of something, right? So giving them a little routine, things that they need during the day is going to help everybody. Trust me, it will help everybody
Agreed.
because they know what is expected. They have their boundaries, they have guidelines, and that's what children thrive on, right? So
Hmm.
why not? Why not sit down with them, develop a really cool routine that they're going to enjoy, get them to do it themselves, right? They're
Yeah.
taking ownership of their own sleep and their own health. And we need sleep right now in particular to build, like, to help our bodies build our immune system, because if you don't have sleep, your immune system is going to just fall apart,
Oh, yeah. I
right?
couldn't. Yeah, absolutely. I
All
couldn't
the
agree
time.
more.
So sleep right now is essential for parents, absolutely essential, because if you don't get sleep, and I've seen this with my son, if things get out of track, he picks up stuff like a head cold or something right away. And it's because his body is not able to fight it off, because he doesn't
Right.
have that immune system. His immune system has been weakened because he's not getting sleep, right? Sleep is so, it impacts everything in your life. If
Listen,
sleep's
I'm going to
not
have to make some changes myself just from what you've described. Like, honestly, my schedule is all over the place. So this
there,
isn't just great advice for parents with young kids out there. As you said, it's great for everybody. Kim, I can't thank you enough for taking the
oh,
time
it's a pleasure
to
speaking with you.
share. I mean, this is, I know so many people watching are going to be like, oh my God, I have to implement some of that. And if, obviously some people need some further expertise, some further
Yeah.
advice. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
On my website, so babesandbeyond.com, and they can follow me on Facebook as well. But that's the best way to get in touch with me, and they fill out the contact form, and I'll get in touch with them right away. So
Excellent.
this is a great time to focus on sleep. It's a great
Yeah,
time,
I agree.
So yeah, it's a great time. I'll leave it
I
at
want
that.
to I want to encourage viewers too to comment in the in the comment section at the bottom. Let us know what you think of the interview. Maybe there's some things that work for you that you want to share. Go
Absolutely.
ahead. You know what?
I would
It's up.
love to hear the comments and what's working for your family. I would love to hear that. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love
Yeah,
to see
because we
it.
can certainly all learn from each other. But as we said earlier, make sure you get information from a reliable source when you're looking up things
Absolutely.
like this. Kim,
Absolutely.
thank you so much again, and
You're
take care of
welcome.
you and your family. Enjoy your time together, and I wish you all the health and happiness.
Thank you. Same to you, Derick. Take care.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks.